Maybe I feel this way from an emotional perspective, but to me, the suit of air can feel a little bit heavy, can feel a little extra dramatic because our thoughts can kind of go dark, right? Our thoughts, the things that you're thinking about, aren't necessarily true or untrue. They're just thoughts that come in and out that we don't always have control over. Yes, I'm adding sound effects. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday Woo. I am Mel Morris, your tarot life planner, helping you connect within to plan the life you're meant for. And as you can see, I'm being blown away by air today. Yeah, I know. I'm feeling kind of silly because we are still in Libra season, but today is the full moon in Aries. Now, Aries is a fire sign, but Aries is giving me some extra silly energy. And so, hence the blowing winds of the air. I'm going to stop shaking myself because I'm going to give myself a headache. So, welcome, welcome. If you're here, say hey. Let me make sure I am streaming in an appropriate way that you can see me. Okay. So, hey, everybody, happy full moon. We'll talk about the full moon in just a little bit. This is what I could do for air today. I don't know. It's a thing. I don't know. So, today we are going to continue our conversations around connecting with the elements. Again, this is all about air today. And so, when you think about air, what do you think about? Well, yes, you think about breeze and the wind, but air is really this, if we go back, we'll do a little recap. So we started with water. Water is that beautiful, like blue, moving, emotional. That's how you can remember water. It's the emotional body within us. Then we moved into earth energy. When you think of earth, you think of grounding and, that green grass, being connected, centering yourself. We did a activity last week outdoors where I was literally sitting in the grass and again, just thinking about really grounding and centering ourselves. And so now that we've moved into air, think about air. If you think about the breeze, you welcome to write in the chat, when you think about air, what you think of. So we're in Libra. Libra is an air sign. And if you know any Libras, and I know a lot, some of my favorite folks are Libras, it's about communication. It's about talking. It's about the ways in which we think, the ways in which, again, that we speak to people, even the ways that we're hearing information coming in. So the downside to an air sign or to air energy is that it can, if you think about like a hot air balloon or you think about like a helium balloon and it kind of floating up and away, sometimes you can get a little caught up and spacey in air energy, but sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need to just get out of all the stuff that's happening around you and kind of rise above it. Air energy is also about Again, in this cycle for us, as we've moved through these elements, we washed away what we didn't need anymore. We worked through that process of cleansing with water. We grounded ourselves with earth. Now is the time to start planning. So, air with communication is air is all about planning, making plans because you've got all the ideas. Air is all about ideas, is about our thoughts and our mind. So this week with our 5 card spread, I only used the suit of swords. So swords is the element of air. And I always say maybe it's because I have a lot of water energy in my chart. Maybe I feel this way from an emotional perspective, but to me, the suit of air can feel a little bit heavy, can feel a little extra dramatic because our thoughts can kind of go dark. Our thoughts, the things that you're thinking about, aren't necessarily true or untrue. They're just thoughts that come in and out that we don't always have control over. So, the card that we had in our topic today, let me see if I can share this. Yes, is the 8 of Swords. And so, as you can see, again, this card is a bit what I would call dramatic. Oh, you can't see my hair blowing. Sorry, again, still being silly today. The 8 of Swords looks like a very kind of dramatic card. But if you remember from last week, where we had coincidentally in this position in our overall card for last week was another 8. We had 8 of Pentacles. And I mentioned that 8s are traditionally about mastery. So the topic for today is mastering really your mind, your sanity. And so let me see if I can actually switch this out so you can see this particular card a little bit better. Give me 1 second here. Let me switch this here so you can see it. I'm gonna hide that. I'm gonna put, bam. Let me know if you can see this one a little bit better. You should be able to. There we go. And so when you think about mastering, you have to think about the time in the work that you have to do in order to master a topic, a subject, anything. The same thing holds true with our thoughts and our mind. We have to spend time mastering what comes in and the ways in which we receive it. Have you ever, pop in the chat, if you've ever just let your mind run wild and you create this whole scenario about like the worst thing that could happen. You create this whole script because something has gone wrong, and suddenly in your mind the whole world is going to crash because this one thing didn't go. And sometimes we just lose control of that. We just kind of start this spin, and that's our mind. That's just our mind running. Again, doesn't mean that it's going to happen, doesn't mean that it's true. So the 8 of Swords, when you first look at this card, you might notice, the fire. You notice that he's blindfolded. Actually, I'm going to just show you the card and you can look at it instead of being distracted by my windy hair. There we go. So you notice the fire, maybe you notice the swords, you see the bull in the background. He looks like, he's tied up. But what I really want you to recognize is if, as we think about mastery, as we think about how we need to master our thoughts and our minds, see what else you notice in this card. Okay. So, and I don't know how much detail you can see. Maybe I can zoom a smidge just so you can see more of him. So if you notice, as you look at this card, where he's tied, he's not tied at the wrist. He's kind of, caught up. I'm not even going to say tied, caught up, higher up on his arms. So he could easily just like raise his arms and move from that. Even down below his legs aren't tied tightly and securely. The point of this is he has the option. His thoughts have put him in a place, those swords that you see there, his thoughts have put him in a space where maybe he's thinking about tragedy. He's thinking about everything around me is burning down. It's terrible. It's crazy. I've got this blindfold on, so I don't even want to see what's happening. I don't even want to face it. But the idea of mastery when it comes to the Suit of Swords is recognizing that, yeah, I am telling myself I'm tied up, but am I really? Am I tied so tightly that I can't escape it if I wanted to? Right? Mastering is wanting to do things better. So again, he could lift his arms, the ropes come off the top. He could shimmy his legs, the ropes come off the bottom. And when we think about things that we start to spin about, when we think about, you know, am I sitting in frustration? Am I sitting in this feeling of being stuck? If I think about swords, if I think about air energy, if I think about freedom and freeing my mind and my thoughts, what can I do differently? Okay. So if you've been following the last 2 weeks and there's a particular scenario that you have going on, I want you to think about that scenario and what maybe cleansed a way around it. So I think the example I used last week, I want to say it was around starting a business. So let's just continue that same example. And if you have another example, feel free to pop it into the chat. Let's say you're starting a business and in general, you're coming into learning about the elements and you're just starting a business. Maybe it's something you have a real passion for. A lot of the buzzword now is like side hustle. So maybe you have this side hustle that you want to create a business around and you feel some anxiety, some stress, some pushback. Maybe things aren't working out exactly the way that you had hoped. And so we start the process with the elements. So we sit with the element of water and you think about the things that you emotionally have attached to starting this business. And whatever that is, it could be, maybe you grew up in a situation where you didn't feel like you were enough. Maybe you're hanging on to some old resentments about people that you've worked with in the past, whatever it is. Think about with that water element, what do I need to release? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to recognize is not serving me emotionally? It's bringing me down. What do I need to wash away? And that's what we did with water. Then you move forward to last week. When we were in earth and that same business, great. I washed away some of that negativity and some of that angst. And so now I need to really sit down and really ground myself, really understand why. Why do I want to really create this business, grow this business? Why do I want to become an entrepreneur, start a business, and sit in that just still, quietly, allowing yourself to feel what it's going to feel like to have this business, feel into that why. That's what we did last week. So now this week, again, you washed away some of the negative energy and thoughts you had. You really sat in your why. You have a better understanding of why you really want to, again, in this example, start this business and grow it out. You're starting to feel good about it, but now your mind starts wandering into, again, all these worst case scenarios. Well, can I afford to do this? Who's going to want to buy my product? Who's going to want to come to me for a service? Whatever it is, just remind yourself as you're connecting with air, remind yourself that these are just thoughts that are coming in, just like the wind is blowing through. These thoughts and ideas in your head doesn't make them real. We're going to master our thoughts and tell ourselves, because you can't stop the thoughts from happening, but you can recognize when they're coming through and say, hey, you're not real. Okay. I can be thinking about other things. What I'm going to stop and think about here is how I'm going to grow this business. I'm going to make a plan. I'm not just going to want to create this business. I'm going to actually sit down now And I'm going to let these ideas come and go in and out, floating around me. I have all the energy of air that just feels light and happy. Again, this kind of yellowy energy that you feel from air. And I'm going to allow that to come in and help me to figure out how I want to move this forward. What's the plan? How can I start reaching out and connecting with other people? We're not doing it yet. We're just making this plan. We're allowing ourselves to dream and to, again, expand on what we sat last week in our earth energy around. We're allowing ourselves to now expand on that. Okay, I understand why I want to create this business. And now, how big can I make it? How joyful can it feel? How light and airy can I feel by becoming a business owner in this way? How can I create something that is going to be supportive and nurturing for other people, whoever, my client base is going to be? That's what this week is all about. And that's when we talk about, again, mastering, your mind and these crazy things that come in and out, whether it's around a business or in a relationship, whatever your issue is now, you get to remind yourself, and you have to remind yourself about, because nobody else is going to do it, that the thoughts that are blowing in and out of my mind, think about them in terms of air energy. That's all they are. They're just thoughts coming in. You can always think all the negative, all the worst case scenarios, but you don't have to stick with that. You get to say, I see you, negative thoughts, and I'm going to let you float down by, because I'm going to be intentional about thinking about something positive. I'm going to be focusing on what I want, what makes me feel good every time one of these negative, crazy, the world's on fire thoughts come through. Okay. And that isn't going to happen overnight. You're not going to always remember to remind yourself about those thoughts, but the more you can, the better. The more that you can just pause and recognize and sit down and say, what am I thinking? Why am I in this like death spiral of thought now? What can I do differently? Okay. So that's really the trick here with the Eight of Swords, is getting to the point. When you get to the point here in this cycle of swords with the eights, now is the time. You've learned enough, you've experienced enough through different thoughts, different scenarios, where now you are capable this week of understanding that you can change your thoughts whenever you want to. Just like the wind shifts and blows, you can change your thoughts just that easily. Okay. So I feel like that's it that I wanted to mention about this. I do want to remind you that this evening at 6, a couple people had some problems getting into the room last week. So again, we're kind of newly doing these Facebook rooms. And so I'm not sure how to solve the challenge, whatever it was last week. We're going to try again this week at 6 o'clock Eastern time. If you want to do a, real brief little ritual with air to help you connect with the energy of air, you can join me over in the Facebook room, and Janelle might be able to pop in. I'm going to switch me out. Janelle might be able to pop in the link to that. You have to be in the Facebook group in order to enter into the room. It's connected to the Facebook group. So if you're not already in the group, come on over to the group. You can join me at 6 o'clock. And we're going to do a little activity this week. I'm going to see how maybe I can modify it to be indoors for folks who maybe can't get out now, whether it's because of the weather or just physically you can't get out of the space. Because next week we are definitely going to be outdoors again with fire energy. So join me at 6 today. Also, don't forget, and I'll pop this in here. So Janelle popped in the link to join us at 6 today. And here is 2-Minute Tarot. Don't forget that if you have a question and you're not quite sure if you're ready for a reading, you can use this great resource, 2-Minute Tarot. And this is where you get to ask me a question. I'm going to pull one card for you and send you back a video response about 2 minutes long with a little bit of information for you to just help give you a little push. If you want to do more, great. You can book time with me always. I'd love to see you. If not, that's okay too. That's always a great resource. And Janelle pop that in for you as well. And I'll also say, both today, anytime, really, you always can ask questions. You always, the whole concept of my air energy of creating this business really is to help, let me move this out the way, is to help people, to help answer questions, help you start to find answers for yourself without needing forever to, connect with these gurus and people who want to charge you lots of money to really connect to yourself. And so please don't ever hesitate to send me your questions. I love getting them. You can email me, you can find me here, you can DM me wherever. I keep saying this that I'm going to be into, hey Gladys. Yay. You like my windy hair? It only works when I'm dramatic with it, but yeah, you're always welcome to ask questions. And, we started moving into these Facebook rooms, the ones that you'll see at 6 tonight, because I want you to kind of have a little bit more access. It's kind of like a Zoom room, so we see each other a bit more. And same thing there. If you've got any questions, you're welcome to ask. And I think that's it for today. I think I'm going to get out of the wind here and yes, giving you face. Yeah, I had to pull out my Halloween makeup, y'all. I got all kinds of things going on there. So thank you so much for being here. Hopefully I will see you at 6 p.m. Eastern time here. If not, I'll see you next week. And I forgot, this is the full moon. Again, I mentioned in the beginning, this is full moon in Aries, which is fire energy. Aries is also the first astrological sign. And so it really is about not necessarily new beginnings, but I want to say it's about reconnecting to yourself, reconnecting to you. This full moon energy, full moons are the peak of energy. And so this is the highest amount of energy that you have now. After today starts the waning process. So we start to lose energy after this. So this is the time where you really want to have gratitude for what you've done. You want to acknowledge the things that you set forward back in the new moon when you set your intentions. And so use this energy to really think about, focus on, start planning for with the additional air energy. Also, since we're in Libra air energy, really use those two pieces together to start making a plan of how you can show up differently for yourself in the world. Don't be afraid of feeling what some people would say selfish is. I don't think selfish is a bad word. So really use this full moon energy to think about, again, how can you start showing up a little bit more? How can you recognize how you've been showing up a bit more? And think about, this isn't necessarily the planning time. That's more better suited for the new moon, but it is the time again to think about, now that I'm here, now that I'm at this, apex of this full moon energy, again, what can I start? Okay, I recognize I'm doing this and I can let go of these other things. What are some things that you can let fall away in this next cycle? Okay. Now I'm officially finished. Have a spectacular day and stay magical, everyone. Love you.